This is the review lesson for Lab 10, which is in Exercise 5. So Lab 10 is processing a refill. So the objective for Lab 10, demonstrate proficiency in the use of the pharmacy management software for processing prescription refills. So in the previous exercise, you were processing prescriptions. Now this is the point where we would process refills. Filling refills on medications is a large part of the work of a pharmacy technician. Patients with chronic conditions often need refills. Accuracy and speed are both important in processing refills, and refill regulations will vary from state to state. Some allow technicians to do refill requests. Some require refills as if they were a brand new prescription, so only a pharmacist can handle it. Louisiana is pretty liberal. Technicians can handle the refills. Refill regulations may vary depending upon the type of drug being refilled. So if we look at the textbook, you want to read through your lab book, the lab textbook on Chapter 10, and it explains about the importance of processing refills correctly, what types of medications can be refilled, and how many refills are allowed. We know that C2s, no refills are allowed. Now, talking about a chronic condition. Chronic health conditions require long-term care with medications. That can include things like diabetes, hypertension, depression. Patients with chronic conditions will regularly require refills on their medications. Now, things that are more of an acute or a temporary type of condition that may not have refills on a prescription would be certain pain medications. If a patient has a broken leg or a broken toe. Antibiotics generally do not have refills. People have a strep throat or an ear infection. However, some antibiotics will have refills. That may be for someone who has a chronic autoimmune disorder where their body can't fight off infection on its own, or like when treating acne. So an antibiotic may be used and it may have refills associated with it. So controlled substances, regular prescriptions, a legend drug are valid for 1 year. In many states, a C5 is valid for 1 year. In the state of Louisiana, it is not. In the state of Louisiana, 3s, 4s, and 5s all have the same restrictions, which means the prescription is valid for up to 6 months from the date it was originally written and allows up to 5 refills. For other states and for legend drugs, Control 5s, the doctor sets however many limits they want on the prescription. Schedule 2s, no refills. Have to have a new prescription every time. So, let's see here. Now, when we're doing the NRX software, the print screen button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen can be used at any time. So we'll look at that in just a moment. The function keys, F1 through F12, are located at the top of the keyboard. Those help speed things up. And the F key option is listed on the screen. F3 is used for search. When you're in the software, the NRX software uses a color coding to help the users navigate through large volumes of pharmacy data. So black, the prescription is valid and has refills remaining. If it's red, no refills remain or the prescription is expired. And purple, prescriptions have been placed but the profile has not been filled. So that's in that little dialog box that shows up in the bottom left-hand corner of the summary screen. You will see these kind of notifications. So, like other pharmacy software, NRX uses to help users navigate through large volumes of information. And that would be color coding. Regular refill regulations would be both A and C, vary from state to state, and definitely are worth memorizing. All right, now let's talk about refill requests. So if we go into our pages here, Not all patients will have their prescription number with them, so we have to have alternative ways to look them up. So that could be their name, their date of birth, the name of the medication, and may not be accurate because then we're going to get a big old list. But definitely their name, date of birth, and maybe even their address. Know how to access and read a patient profile and understand the medication usage will help you to serve the patient and provide them with correct medication at the proper time. So if you ever have a question when you're processing a refill request, always ask your pharmacist. So the procedure is outlined in your lab textbook, and there's several little notes here about best practice and little helpful information. So we're going to go through our first one here, and we're going to log into the course navigator. So I'm already logged into the course navigator, so I'm going to bring this up on the screen. And I'm going to go through the tutorial with you. Okay, so like I said before, please listen to everything that the narrator tells you, because there may be something. Don't just go and click on buttons as they pop up. Actually pay attention to what's being said and follow along with your actual lab manual or lab textbook as you go through the steps. So now I am going to mute him so that I can So with this, Vance has given us his prescription number. So I've given you a copy of the information that is in your lab book just to make it easy for you. This is in your lab binder so that you can have it by your side instead of flipping pages back and forth as you're going through. So I'm going to sign in his prescription number. All right. So I'm going to take just a moment here and look this over with you. So as you go on to the other prescriptions, you're knowing what you're looking for. So the patient name is here, and then I'm checking my prescriber to make sure that that's correct. This message box is where you will see an error message. So that goes to, is it black, is it red, or is it purple? So that you would have the right information. We're going to click the next step to continue on. Well, before I go on, I'm also verifying my Acupril is the correct medication from the patient's information. So I've been circling around at DAW saying that yes, we can do a substitution. So now we're going to go ahead and fill his prescription. So this is very similar to what you did in the previous when you were filling prescriptions. Again, it will not print. So it won't go to the printer. We're not trying to print out the one for Vance since this is the tutorial. But any other prescriptions that you're attempting to refill throughout this exercise, if you do get to the print screen, you will have to save as a PDF, just as a reminder. So generally, another step that's being missed in this tutorial that is important in the other labs is you would actually close out your general information screen by clicking the X prior to doing the logout screen. So that's an important step, closing your summary screen before logging out. All right, now that we've logged out, I would click Submit on my other refills that I'm trying to process, and that would then score your lab. So we are just going to close that out. All right. So let's talk a little bit about some important components. So controlled substances should never be refilled early. It doesn't mean that they're not sometimes refilled early, but generally speaking, they are not. When a prescription for a controlled substance, check the last date filled and the proper day supply against today's date. Refills may be delayed until after the supply is deleted or until the pharmacy receives permission after contacting the physician. If you encounter a request for an early refill, ask your pharmacist to intervene. So as we're going through, now here's another, it's your turn. The blank must handle a request for emergency refills of C2 prescriptions, controlled substance prescriptions. That would be the pharmacist. Controlled substances, blank, be refilled early. Should never. Doesn't mean it couldn't, just means it shouldn't. So refill regulations vary by drug and vary by different states. The NRX software color code drug entries help speed processing. Patients with chronic conditions frequently require refills, and when processing a refill, verify that the prescription is valid, that it has refills, and it's ready to be refilled. All right, so continue on with exercise or lab 10. As you're going through, it might only take you about 20 minutes or so to complete this part of the exercise. 20 to 30 should be optimal. And then go ahead and listen to lab 11.